We have some really exciting news about multiple fronts on our efforts to bring vaccinations to everyone in the state of Washington. Today, we are announcing the start of what we think of as the second stage of our vaccination initiative. We are now moving from a limited number of Washingtonians to a rather broad scale where mass vaccinations are now possible, called for, and are going to be implemented. To this end, we have 6 announcements today to move our vaccination efforts forward in a significant degree, and I'm confident that we will achieve success on this. First, we are announcing that effective immediately, Washington will move statewide to phase 1B of vaccinations. In the first tier of phase 1B is changing so that all Washingtonians who are 65 and older will be eligible to receive vaccines starting immediately. Now, the reason for this is clear. About 80% of all COVID deaths in the state of Washington have occurred to individuals who are 65 and older. So our vaccine prioritization obviously reflects the need to protect these most vulnerable Washingtonians. Now, in addition to that, Washingtonians age 50 and over who are living in multi-generational households will also be eligible in this tier, one of our measures to reflect our desire for equity in our community. So this is taking place immediately, so people over the age of 65 and those, as I've described, are eligible, are now eligible to go get vaccines, and we hope people will. This is going to make it possible for more people in risk categories to access the vaccine now. This also aligns with the latest guidance from the Federal Centers for Disease Control. Prioritized residents whose circumstances would place them in second, third, or fourth tiers in phase 1B will remain the same. However, we are building in more flexibility in those subsequent tiers. Once roughly half of the first tier of 1B citizens have received their first doses, we would intend to move to tier 2 of phase 1B. Once we reach that tier, we will also allow vaccine providers flexibility in administering vaccines to people in tiers 2 through 4. This will make it for an easier process for vaccinating people in congregate settings and in workplaces to make that system more efficient. We're very excited about that progress. This means thousands of more Washingtonians can and will be protected, and we encourage folks to start that today. The second step we're taking is to announce that we have established a statewide goal to make 45,000 vaccinations for COVID every day available to Washingtonians as soon as possible. This goal is higher than our current vaccine allocation by the federal government by several fold. So we are today vaccinating somewhere between 13 and 15,000 people a day, and that matches or exceeds the amount of doses that we're receiving from the federal government. But we want to establish an ambitious goal of building capacity to vaccinate 45,000 people. And the reason for this is we always want our capacity for vaccinations to actually get the shot to match or exceed the number of doses we actually are getting from the federal government. So over the next several months, we will be building towards that capacity starting today. Now, we have to realize, I'm sure Washingtonians do, that when in establishing this goal of 45,000 potential vaccinations a day, to have enough vaccinators and clinics and places to get your vaccination, we can't reach that goal unless we get more doses, obviously, from the federal government. We are advised that those doses will increase over the next several months, and we want to make sure that we have capacity to vaccinate them, folks, in a timely fashion when that increased production occurs. This is an ambitious goal, but I believe the things we're announcing today will put us in good shape moving towards that goal. Third, today we're going to announce we're going to set up mass vaccination sites statewide with additional help from the National Guard and from outside resources as well. The State Department of Health is sending more volunteer vaccinators to sites where dosages are underutilized and will also be used in these mass vaccination sites. Specifically, in this first tier, we are setting up the following sites that will begin vaccine administration starting next week at the Spokane Arena in Spokane, the Benton County Fairgrounds in Kennewick, the Town Toyota Center in Wenatchee, and the Clark County Fairgrounds in Ridgefield. So the state's allocation for doses for next week will be divided between these sites and pharmacies and local clinics to begin 1B vaccinations, as well as existing vaccination large-scale, high-throughput sites that are currently under development in Snohomish, King, and Pierce counties. We want to have statewide coverage in this respect. The fourth thing we're announcing today is that we are establishing a new criteria to ensure that our partners in the health system are administering these vaccines in an appropriate time frame, one that appreciates the urgency of this crisis. And I do want to preface talking about this announcement to realize that the state employees are not administering these vaccines. These are partners of the state, hospitals, clinics, tribes that are actually doing the administration. So we have to have cooperation of these entities in order for the vaccine actually to be delivered. So starting today, we will have a requirement that 95% of future vaccine allocations are required to be administered in the first week after receipt. And that data must be submitted to the state within 24 hours. And by tomorrow, all vaccine providers in the state are expected to provide daily information on vaccines administered and their plans for using any doses that remain. So every dose allocated prior to this week needs to be administered by January 24th, this Sunday. There are simply too many people who need access to COVID vaccines for this process to lag any further. And we appreciate, obviously, the help of all of our partners in this effort, but we need to step it up. We need to step up that game significantly. The fifth step we are taking is that we are launching the Washington State Phase Finder. And to determine your eligibility now and going forward, you can go to the State Department of Health website and use their Phase Finder tool to check your eligibility. And the website is doh.wa.gov, doh.wa.gov. And basically you'll fill out a form, describe your personal criteria, and that Phase Finder will advise you what phase you will be in during this prioritization process. Now, for this phase, it's relatively easy given the criteria I just discussed, but that'll help you to make sure that you find yourself in the appropriate phase. The sixth, and you will describe that in the Phase Finder, they will give you the information as to where the dosages are in your area. So you will know where the doses should be available to be able to find dosages in your area. The sixth thing we are doing is intended to fully mobilize the tremendous resources of the state of Washington in this mission. So we are excited to announce that we are establishing a public-private partnership that the state has developed to accelerate COVID-19 vaccinations. We're calling this the Washington State Command and Coordination Center. It will be led by the Department of Health in partnership with business, healthcare, and labor organizations. This team will coordinate all available resources to administer more vaccines in the state of Washington in the fastest and most efficient way possible.